Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's stream. My name is Nacho Riesco, and you are used to watch my streamings. I will be here making jewelry with ZBrush, and today I'm going to follow with this design. So following the two previous sessions. So, okay, before I start talking about the design and so on, let me know if you can hear me well. The music is not too loud. I'm gonna check it on my side. So I don't want to put too much volume with the noise. So I don't want to it looks like it is working fine. And let's go ahead. Yeah, hey, thank you, Deske. You have updated the title. Yeah, I was watching the title was from your previous stream. So let me put the music a little bit lower here on my side. I'm gonna adjust it here. Maybe like this. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's see if everything is working. Perfect. Welcome. So, just in case if you are interested on how I started this design, you can go to YouTube or Twitch. I will show you the previous. You go to for example, to YouTube. You go live videos. You will find I made 2 live sessions sculpting this design. I started. Let me find it here. This was the first one 1 month ago when I started making this design, and this one was 3 weeks ago when I was creating this design from here till trying to develop the design. And today I think it's going to be the last day I'm going to work on this design. So that means that my next stream is going to be the next week, if I remember well. So I will start a new design. So today I will keep working on this. So I have made some adjustments because let me fix because the idea behind of this design, I had this real. Let me put this here. For example, here, let's frame it, and I can do this. It is this pearl. It's a real skin baroque pearl. Baroque pearl means they have not regular forms. They have like this kind of random shapes, and I like this one. I told to the guy who showed me the different pearls. You can watch them here. That he could scan it for me, so when I can grab the scan file and start creating a design based from the existing pearl. And the idea behind this is there is a very common jewelry when baroque pearls are used as a reference as a base for start creating the whole design. As you can see, making different kind of octopus. An octopus is an animal that gives a lot of possibilities when we are creating jewelry designs. You can see this two kind of octopus, this little bird, a seal, and many different things. And this is the idea behind of this design. So I will keep working on it. I think at the end I'm gonna prepare it for manufacturing. I'm gonna send it to the jewelry workshop for printing, finishing, for making the stone setting, and let's see how it looks like in real life. So I think, so don't put a lot of money on manufacturing this design. I think I'm gonna make it in silver, or maybe silver with gold plated, white gold plated, maybe, because I already did this. I'm gonna drop this here. I already did this render time ago. This is the idea behind it, where all of the white points or white dots are going to be a stone. So today mainly we are going to prepare this for the stone setting. Talking about the stone setting, there are two different way of working. We are going to make the stone setting manually, give it the piece to the stone setter. So the stone setter is going to start cutting the metal and start placing the stones, or you can cut the metal or cut the spaces on the 3D object, on the 3D model, on the 3D mesh, and send for printing and for manufacturing with the holes, with the prongs already made. In my opinion, it's much better to send to the stone setter as it is now. You can see it on the left. When the stone setter is going to be able to start cutting the necessary metal to put the stones inside, and the finishing is much nicer. I think it's much more professional, of course, but for me, just for showing the design, it's good for me if I do it myself on the 3D mesh, because I'm going to be able to create a 3D render, and I'm going to try to make the render as more realistic as possible compared with the real object. So I need to talk with the stone setter, but this is the idea that I have here. I'm going to put stones, rows of different stone sizes to mimic the suckers of the different tentacles, and on the head I'm gonna put a random stones distribution called this kind of pave stone setting, but not covering the whole head. I'm gonna leave some blank spaces. I think it's gonna look more interesting, and maybe it's gonna be good if we can try. Let's see how I do the render. If I can put different colors of the stones, for example, here try to put, for example, white and purple colors, white and red and orange. In the real piece, I can use zircons. They are like crystals. They are not going to be precious stones, for as I said before, to don't make the piece too expensive for me for manufacturing. Just showing that we can bring all that we do on the screen, bring it to life, and what we are doing on the screen is going to be ready for manufacturing. We are making things with sense in terms of the different necessary manufacturing processes involved on on a jewelry piece, and this is the idea behind of my streamings when I am creating jewelry pieces, not just creating beautiful pieces, but ready for manufacturing pieces as well. So I will pay as more attention as possible to the chat. So leave your comments, your questions. I will be glad to help you as more as I can. You can ask me questions about what I'm doing, or you have any question related to other techniques related to jewelry or not related to jewelry, of course, about ZBrush. And let's go. So let's close this. Let me check your comments. And welcome again. Well, let's start working. This is the idea that I have for the eyes. And the head here, as you can see, I have on distribution of different folders. What I have the head, this is the older head, and I made this. This is not definitive, but you can see here, this is the way that we are going to assemble the different tentacles in the head. So you can see you are going to have, if I close this, the head is going to look like this. It is completely hollow inside. Now, as I said before, it's not 100% the definitive mesh, because I need to check the stone setting first. You know that when you are putting in stones inside of the metal, you are going to need the necessary metal, because the stone setting is going to cut, it's going to remove part of that metal. So you don't have the necessary thickness. Maybe it's not going to be possible to set or to put the stones inside. Let me find a word I'm thinking in Spanish, because I use the Google translator here when I am, but there are many technical words. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just to nail, when you are nailing a nail is to nailing, or probably, because when I'm talking about when I'm using or trying to translate the vocabulary that I know related to jewelry, most of the time it's difficult for me to find the exact translation in English, because it comes to my mind the word in Spanish, but I don't know how to say it. And I try to give an equivalent word, but maybe it doesn't mean the same, but I'll try to do my best when I speak English. So let me open this application, because I like to paint, or when I'm trying to explain what I want to say, but sometimes it's much better for me to start drawing instead of to talk in English. So I think I will explain it better if I'm able to draw or to paint what I'm trying to explain. So, and this is the head, where you can see here we have the tentacles are going to be possible to be soldered, because all the tentacles are going to have a hole. I'm going to leave a pin inside of the head, so this tentacle are going to be assembled inside of the head, and they are going to have a soldering point. This, or if possible, I need to speak first with the jewelry workshop. Maybe it's going to be possible to use screws to attach the tentacles to the head. That's the reason why I have this thickness here, for being able to drill here and to start making the necessary screw form. You know what I mean? Okay, the first questions are coming, and Sarah's asking, how did I make the tentacles? Hard surface. Okay, the tentacles, this is quite simple. Maybe you are thinking about this kind of clean, hard surface looking thing, when we are having an edge, and we are having smooth surfaces. You can see on the back is I sculpted this shape by hand. This is the reason why. Let me just smooth this a little bit. Like, it is not so clean as on the front, but the way that I did this, let me show you one. I can replicate one. If I select the head, let hide the tentacles. I use this brush. You have many curve brushes. You go to B and C. You will find all the brushes which starts from the letter C, and you have the curve multi-tube or the curve tube or the curve tube snap brush. In this case, I think I use this one, and that's a matter. Both are going to do almost the same, the curve tube or curve multi-tube. Let me use this, and then when we are designing and we are not sure what we are doing, maybe we are doing things okay at first time or at second time, at third time, that means that we're not 100% what I'm doing. We are just searching the shapes or the forms that we have in mind. So you can do this. This kind of brushes are very useful because you can start creating a path and you will have this kind of shape, a tentacle. Let me make it smaller, like this, and you will have this. So remember that when you are managing, when you are working with curves, you can use the number 6 on your keyboard to start relaxing the curve. You can see, just in case if you don't make it completely perfect. So because when you are creating the stroke, your hand is not so precise, you can start using the number 6. You are hitting many times the number 6, and now touching again the curve, you can start relaxing the curve and you will get a much better curve like it is now. Let me apply more 6 like this. So let's split hidden, split max points like this, and we have a tentacle like this. And now let's see how the topology looks like. And this is, you can see the topology that gives to us this brush is good enough. Let me see. Let's fix the shape first, like this. We can start smoothing the tip to make it from thicker to thinner. Something. Let's try to fix this. I use a lot the polishing features. They are here on my custom interface, but you will find them here. Deformation, I can apply many times the polishing. That means that we can relax the mesh when we are sculpting the mesh, or when we are moving the mesh, like this. And now it's time to start making polygroups. That's the only key to start making that kind of clean surface looking finishing. So the way that we can use many ways to start creating different polygroups, but the way that I like to create is, in this case, if we are going to need one polygroup on the front, because we need to split the tentacle in 2 different polygroups, because we're gonna, and we can create a mask. Let me use this mask. Create one polygroup now. Control W, and we have one polygroup. I didn't make it so precise. Let me grab like this. You can do this, Control W. You can see with using this method, it's not so precise because you are not grabbing the 100% perfect this different sides or the different rows of the different columns based on topology. So I prefer to use the topology mask. So with the gizmo, with the control, I can start dragging the mask based on the topology like this. You can start moving the mask, and now we can Control W, and now we are having 2 different polygroups, one on the front and one on the back. It is not big enough. I did it wrong this side. Let me repeat it again. So let's see if I can do it like this. Looks much better. Let's grow the mask one more time. Control W, and now looks much better. And now we can isolate this one, Control Shift, and tap on this polygroup. And now we are going to create 2 more polygroups. In this case, I'm going to split the tentacle, just creating the H here, something like this. So we are going to need one polygroup here and the second polygroup here, using the same process as before. Control, using the gizmo, control drag, like this. Let's grow the mask. Control W. Let's grow the mask 2 times again, like this. Now better. And now once we have the different polygroup, we can create a new mask using the ZBrush. Go into geometry, ZBrush. I like to change the data size from 50 to 0, so trying to create as more quads as possible, more regular quads as possible on the new mesh. And let's try to make a new mesh with double amount of polygons. And let's see. And now this is the, oh, I forgot to turn this off, turn this on. Keep groups. So now we have the, so let's relax the mesh. And now when we have here, you can see we already have the different polygroups. We can crease the polygroups using this option. You will find it here. Going to crease PG, that means crease polygroups. And now we can start subdividing the mesh now. Subdivide and use, instead of using the polish feature I was using before, now I'm going to use polish by feature. I prefer to open this little dot at the end and we can start polishing this. If you can see that the effect when you are polishing the mesh is too aggressive, that means that you are shrinking down too much the mesh. It's much better to divide 1 or 2 times before start polishing. And now we can start, as we are working now with more polygons than before, the effect when we are polishing the surface is less aggressive, like this. And there you go. Then you have the, and now it's time to start creating the necessary shape. We can go to the subdivision number 1. For example, let me grab this mask. I'm gonna make a mask, blur the mask, invert the mask. Let's put the gizmo here. Let's put it here, for example. Let's grab the tip now. And now we can start bending like this and giving the necessary shape. Now I can, for example, if you want to have this, now we have here a kind of round profile here. We are having something like this, and we are looking for more flat surface. Instead of start working on the mesh with a sculpting brush, as we have different polygroups, what we can do is Control Shift, tap here, make a mask just for this polygroup, invert the mask. Let's go to the highest, or let's see how it worked on the 3rd subdivision level. And you're gonna start polishing. Let's go to the 2nd, like this. And now you can, let's apply to the number 3, 4, better. And now you can see, and you start getting what you are looking for. Or you can keep working with the different polygroups. Control tap here, you have a mask. You can start using the H polish brush. So I start polishing here and keep polishing. Now polish here, and now you have the necessary shape, this kind of tentacles. If I can go again to the subdivision number 1, and let's make the tip a little bit smaller. Let's put the gizmo here, let's make it smaller. Now it looks nicer now. And now now you have the necessary hard surface looking tentacle. Just making polygroups. The conclusion about this process is start making polygroups and start polishing the polygroups with the polish by feature. And how can we make the different polygroups? You can start using a topology mask, so you start using different masks and convert the mask into a polygroup using the Control W option, and that's it. Hey Fexter, how you going? It's a pleasure for me always for having you here. Okay, maybe tentacles or with hard surface. And I think mainly if you're a struggle making hard surface, I think the best trick behind it is don't forget to use polygroups. I think that's the best advice that I can give you when you have to create hard surface looking finishings. It doesn't matter if you are working with Dynamesh or with a regular mesh, or always the polygroups, it's the best way for create, and also you can do a lot of things. For example, you can do this. Let me tap here, let me invert the mask, and you have many different options and features based from polygroups. So if you go to the masking menu, we can, here we have two different polygroups, right? Let me change the color on this, on the top, like this. We have, let me change the color, like this. Let me hide it. Now we have two different polygroups, and you can frame, not frame, you can create a mask based by different features. In this case, turn this off, and we can create a mask. The mask now is almost not visible, but we can grow the mask and it's there. So we can create different masks based on polygroups. We can grow the mask a little bit more, invert the mask, and now we can inflate this. And we can create this kind of thing, just doing this with two different polygroups. If before start inflating the mask, you remember to store the morph target. Let me store the morph target first. And now let's repeat the same as before. Control inflate, let polish. And now we can start fading this when it is closer to the tip. Like we can use this brush, the morph brush, and we can start fading down this and start having this kind of finishing. So then it is not necessary to create that super clean and precise stroke trying to create this kind of vein or this kind of stroke on the surface. You can do it automatically, managing the masking features, creating a mask based on polygroup. So, and now here we have the result. Okay. So, okay, let's come back to the original. Let's hide this one. I already have the one, well, let me see if I have here. I think it must be here. The idea I have is to put the stones here on the eyes. This kind of shape for the stones. Like this. And the first thing to know is which is the available space. This is the idea. So you know that the way that we have with ZBrush to start taking measurements, the first step to take is go to the Z plugins and tells to ZBrush in which units we're going to work. So just clicking here, set the scene scale, and I'm going to work with millimeters. So the head now it's this size, 21.8 millimeter tall, and it is 18 millimeter thick because it is not very large, not very big pearl, but it's big. So like here. So now we can, using the gizmo and turning off the gizmo, you can use this button or use the shortcut, the Y from your keyboard. You can start taking measurements from point to point, and you're gonna be able to read the value of the measurement on the top left corner. I think now it's hidden up with my. Let me hide this for a moment, and you will be able to read it here. Right, so let me take the measurement again from this point to this point. Don't forget to always use the shift key to be sure that you are creating a 100% straight line. So you are taking from point to point, we have 4.7 millimeter, and from point to point here we are having 3.3 millimeters. So that means that we need to talk with our stone hemstone supplier, and maybe if we are having here almost 5 millimeter, it is not a big deal of having now 4.5 or 4.6 millimeter, because we are still developing the design, we are still creating the design, so we can start fixing the eyes and we're going to have more space. But if we're having a stone here, it's going to be this kind of pearl marquise. We're going to need one amount of metal here and an amount of metal here. We need to be sure. So, and this, how thick this is going to need to be. So at least let's try to put as least 0.6 millimeter or even 0.5 millimeter. That means that it's going to be necessary to, it's going to be possible to set a stone of, here we are having 5 millimeter here. It's going to be possible to set a 4 millimeter stone to be sure that we are going to have success with the stone setting. So we can start thinking about to start talking with the hemstone supplier and to start asking, have you got any 4 millimeter marquise stone of that color? Yes, no. So we can follow with the idea of the design that we are creating. And if let's check about the necessary space that we have here. Now we can start taking measurements from point to point. We have 4.5 millimeter here. We have 6.2 millimeter here. So let's see which stone can we use for make the pavé that I made on the sketch I showed you before. Let me turn this on again. How did I make the mask? Okay, let me repeat it for you. Let's grab the tentacle. I'm gonna create a duplicate. Let's grab this one. Let's come back from history till the beginning, till here. So you start from here, right? So this is what we call topological mask. So you need to use the gizmo or the transpose, doesn't matter. And now pressing the control key and keeping the control key pressed, when you start, just like when you are creating a stroke on the surface, you start dragging in this direction. You are dragging, you are creating a stroke on this direction. You're gonna start grabbing the different columns in this case, because you are dragging the mass in this direction. But if you are dragging the mass in this direction, you will do this. Where is gizmo? Here you can start. That's the reason why it is called topological, because you are going to follow the topology of the mass. So you're going to start dragging your mass based on your topology. So and be sure that, for example, let me remove this. Let me turn this on. Let's remove the. So when you are creating your stroke, be sure that you are making that more perpendicular or parallel to the rows or to the columns, because if you are moving in this way, you are not so straight. You're gonna start creating this kind of mask instead of this kind of mask that you are looking for. So you can like this, you can drag the mask, and that's it. Once you have a mask, if you didn't go too far enough, you can start growing your mask using this button, and now Control W, and then you will create the mask, and that's it. Now from here you can start follow, keeping using this method and start creating more masks and more polygroups if necessary. Okay, the sound is very low. Really? My voice, do you mean? I really have the same volume on my previous the streams and nobody said it. Let's see now. Let's try to check on your side your volume maybe. Okay. Okay, let's come back to the head. I already have here the mess, the head decimated. You can see what is the technique I used for make this thing hollow inside. You can take it out on my previous stream where I was creating the head hollow inside, just for checking how many grams of metal I'm going to be able to remove if I make it if I make the head hollow inside. That's the main purpose when we are talking about the jewelry designs, you know. It's most of the time it's necessary to make things hollow to save weight. When we are saving material, we're going to save money. We're going to make a more comfortable piece to wear. And okay, let's start working with on the stone setting. I'm going to create first I'm going to create the channel. I'm going to create a copy of this folder because as I said before, I am still designing. That means that I'm not creating definitive things, because during the designing process and during the sculpting process, when we are designing jewelry, we need to be checking the measurements through the whole process, just to know that it's going to be possible for printing, it's going to be possible for casting, it's going to be possible for the stone setting. And maybe at some point we made something very thin, so it's going to be necessary to remake it again or to change the design if necessary. But I'm at that point that I know it 100% sure that what I'm doing is going to be possible for me being manufactured. I am still developing the design, so this is just what I made. This is the main idea. This is what I made to see how it looked like. But now I'm gonna create a new copy, because here I have this first folder is the first head, the sketching. The second folder was a next evolution of the head, and this is the third folder is about how the head is going to look like if I make it hollow, what it's going to be the weight, how it's going to look like, to start thinking about the assembling process. And now I'm going to create a fourth folder, creating a duplicate of this folder, create a duplicate. And now I'm going to rename it, this folder. And this is going to be about the stone setting. Let me call it Pave head. Let me hide the others. And I'm now going to use this one. Let's delete this two. Let's delete this one. Let's delete this one, this one, this one, and this one. Let's delete the tentacles I did before, because let's leave it as it is. Now it is again solid. And let me see, let's check which is the available space that we're going to have to create that pave of the head. First step to take is to start checking which are going to be the stone sizes. I'm thinking about to set, because if I show you again the picture I showed you before, this render. So I think I was checking to create that 2 millimeters, a combination of 2 millimeters and 1.5 millimeter stone. As far as I remember, I was using 2 stone sizes, or maybe 3, because here I'm having 2 millimeters, 1.5 millimeters, and maybe 1 millimeter to create the combination of, to try to cover with this kind of randomness. with different stone sizes. And the way that I have to do this, I have this brush. I made this brush. This is a custom brush made by myself. You can, this is the what we are used to call, this looks as it is called a stone sit. This is going to be, we're going to create the necessary space for the stone. So as I was saying before, we're going to remove the necessary metal to put the stone inside. And this is the mesh that I'm going to use to create the subtraction using the live Boolean system. And the way that we have to control how big is this when we are dragging the piece on the surface, I'm going to use an external plugin called IMM Draw Size, where we can say, give me a 2mm round size for this piece. I can put it here too, clicking here. When we are dragging the mesh, when we are pressing the Control key, now we are gonna fix the size to the right measurement. So I'm gonna show you again. So Control, Control, and Control. Now we are having 2mm stone sits now. If we, I'm gonna try to follow the layouts that I did. I'm gonna load it here in ZBrush using texture, import, because I already did it with measurements. It should work, or at least almost work. Let me put it here just for using it as a reference. And let's say, let's make it bigger. Let's put it here. And control, drag one big one here. The way that we have to control how deep we want to put the mesh is using this graphic like this. Let's put it more deeper. Okay, like this. Now, so I have a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small stones. They looks like 1mm. So if we come back to the plugin, let's say 1mm. Let's say starting from 1, split mask points. We'll start having a different subtool. 2, we can put them as closer as possible. And we need to be sure that we are not very close to the edge. We need to be sure that we are having at least around 0.4 or 0.5mm here. We can check it out using the transpose line. Here I'm having, okay, it is fine, 0.5mm. Maybe it's much better to push it up like this, and push it up here like this. And now we can keep putting more stones here. 1, 2. Let's put, this is the 4th, and let's put another one here. We have 5 stones. I think this, the first one, is that needs to be closer. I'm gonna start over again. So because let me put this here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Again, split mask points. Now we turn this on. This is what we are doing. So we are creating the necessary space for placing the stone inside. So let me check again the layout. So okay, let's start placing now the bigger one on the 2 medium ones. Let's start with the bigger one. We set 2mm stone here. Let's split mask points. Let's keep it and a different subtool. Let's like this. Maybe it's too big, 2 millimeter. Yeah, maybe it's too big. It looks like very big, but let's see. Let's check 1.5 millimeter instead of 2. Normally the stone size is 1, half, 1. So 4 halves, different half, 1, 1.5, 2 to 2.5, and so on. Or in some cases we can use 1.2. Maybe we can find 1.2 millimeters stones. Yeah, I think it looks much better for using 1.5. 1.5 here. And maybe maybe I need to make it bigger. Or maybe 1.8. I was using maybe 1.8 millimeter. I'm not sure, but maybe like this is going to look good enough. Maybe like this. Let's come back to 1. Again, let's select the 1 millimeter. What do you mean manage? To add diamond auto pave concept in a single click. I think the answer is going to be no, because okay, well, it will depend on the kind of pave you are about to make. If you are gonna need to cover like this, that what I'm doing, a non-regular shape is not uniform. It is not only with this shape. It is not a non-regular. It's not a quad. It's not a circle. It is not a oval shape. It has non-regular form, and also it is not completely flat. It is having this shape. It is not flat. It has this kind of concave shape. It is not flat. It is not regular. I think, in my opinion, in this case, you should do it by hand. So, because there isn't any automatical way of do this, as far as I know, or at least good enough. For example, you need to create a distribution on a flat, on a plane, a quad, on a circle. You have many ways to create automatical placement, but in this case, I think the best way, and maybe the only way, is making things by hand. So I'm gonna remove this because I think I'm gonna create a new version. Let's go to 1.5 again. Put here a bigger one. Let's put here another one. Maybe no, this is not a good idea. Let's come back to 1. I forgot to split match points. I like to keep all of the sizes group in different subtools. Mark down. Let's go back. This is the number 1. If number 1. Let's start getting something like this. We don't have the necessary space here. So maybe we can come back again to 1.5. Like this. Let's come back to 1. And I said before, this is just for rendering purposes. So after, I think it's going to be necessary, but much better to leave this work for the stone setter, but it's going to be necessary to have the hole, to have the prong, to have the the stones for the rendering. So let's see if I put here another one. Now 1.5 now. We can put one here, and then we can use another one more time. Like this. Another one here. 1.5 again. It takes a lot of time, but I think it's good for relaxing, to create paves, the layouts, because at the same time you are thinking about the random distribution. I think my opinion is relaxing, because sometimes it's very frustrating because you are trying to create a layout, it doesn't work, you need to start over again to try a new one, it doesn't work also, to start making the third one, it's much better to leave it for one day and start over again. But I think it is very high time consuming. But maybe if let me check, if I remove this one and I put one more of 1.5 millimeter here, I think we're going to cover more space. And now 1 millimeter again. I think it's going to be good enough. And now we can start grabbing the head. And the good thing about this process is we can start fixing the necessary spaces. And that's it. For example, if we are having here the space is not regular, we're going to start fixing this, and we're going to start having this shape. And around where I'm gonna need to frame this, I can use a curve brush, or I can use, for example, a clay build-up without the alpha, with more lazy radius, because I'm gonna create a frame here. Also, you can fix the size of your stroke using this. If I want to put 1.5 millimeter stroke, this is a 1.5 millimeter stroke. Let's see, 0.8 millimeter stroke. Clicking here, let's add more intensity. This is a 0.8 millimeter stroke. I can show you. It is not yet 1.5. I need to. Now, yes. I can do this, making it by hand, or we can use a curve brush to make it more beautiful. But the meaning of this is to trying to make looks real, or closer to a real thing. So once we have this, so we can see that the stones, they are too close to the border, so it's possible to start fixing or the gaps or the edges till getting a good distribution about this. Let's smooth this. It is okay. I'm gonna make a dynamesh of this, so I use the dynamesh plugin, dynamesh utility. 1.5 millions of point is going to be enough. Oops. Okay, ready. I can now turn off like this, and now smooth bodies to smoothing this. So I'm gonna start getting what I'm looking for. Yeah, Rome wasn't built in one day. Exactly. Exactly. Are you referring to this brush? To the hem scatter brush? Yeah, I'll do it. I will share it. Or you can create your own. You can see it is very simple. It is just like, I'm gonna save this before. This is going to be the number. I can show you the science behind of this brush, and then I will explain to you how you can create your own. But anyway, I'm going to be able to share mine if you can. But the best thing about this, you can see the brush, the mesh. I'm sorry, it hasn't. It has. Sorry, it has two things. It has the main shape, the cutter shape. When we have this shape, I'm talking about this shape. It's very easy to make from a cylinder, but also you have a second mesh. Is here. It is a template, or at least what I call template. That it is a little polygon on top of each cutter of each mesh. The reason why I did this is because when you have all the cutters or the spaces already made, the next step to take is go into the splitting options and always be sure that you are using this first one. Split two similar parts. So ZBrush is going to ask you, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Okay. And now we are having two tube tools. The original one, the cutter, the shape, but we have a second one that's the mesh that I call templates. This one. And let me do the same thing here. Split two similar parts. Okay. And now I'm going to merge the two subtools. U and U needs to be merged into one subtool. Merge down. Now here we have grouped the templates, right? And the templates like this. You can see the templates now. So I'm gonna open a mess of an stone I have here on my folder inside of my lightbox. Tool, diamond. It is a diamond. Yeah, cut. And the next step is start using C modeler. This is just for, as I said before, just for rendering purposes. It's just for showing how the piece is going to look like in reality. Of course, I think the stone setter is not going to use the same stones distribution. Let's see, or maybe I can give him the holes already made. I need to think about it, but the main purpose now at the moment is we need the stones for the rendering. So using the C modeler, staying in the middle. So we are gonna use the face options using the spacebar. We're gonna insert an animus to all polygons, right? And which mesh? Clicking the M, we are gonna use the diamond. So now we're gonna be able to start placing all of the stones with one click, as you said before. And now we're gonna start playing with the nanomesh settings. We go to nanomesh settings, and now you know that we were using different stone sizes. The first step is going to be necessary to change to proportional, because now you can see all the stones are having the same size. So changing from prop to fit. So all the stones will fit its own template. Now we are only using two sizes, but you can figure out, or we are using 3, 4, 5 different of stone sizes. We are gonna be able to fit all the stones to each individual template size. So now it's going to be necessary to make it bigger. Now it's time to go to make them deeper. Using this, you should be here. They still needs to be bigger size. a little bit more, not so deep. Needs to be maybe here, minus 0.6, no, minus 0.55. Oops, no, minus 0.55. Now, it's not that much. Maybe there needs to be a little bit deeper. Minus 0.65. Let's see what it does. No, it's the opposite. It's 0.0 negative. No, minus 0.5. Well, I should do. I am doing the opposite. 0.7. Now, yes, I'm going now in the right direction. That's minus 0.72. Now, much better, maybe 74. Minus 0.74. Now, there you go. Maybe 75. Now, so once we have everything ready, because when we are using Nanomesh, we are working with a rendering mode. So that means that we are not using real polygons. We are just rendering the different changes that we are doing. So the way that we need to convert the rendering mode into real thing, the real polygons. So just clicking here, convert BPR to Geo, and now you can see that the Nanomesh settings are not available anymore. That means that we are working with real polygons, and now we can repeat the same thing as before. The split to similar parts, and now here we are having all the stones in place. We can change the material. For example, I like to use this one. Let's name of material, fill object, and now we are having this. And the same process, but we still need to create one more step. Is to start creating the prongs, start creating the grain, because now the stones are floating, they are not fixed on the surface, and we need to start creating the prongs, or the, I don't know, maybe there are many names, maybe prongs or grains, claws, there are many names. And for that I have another custom brush, is this one, where I have different prong shapes. I'm gonna use this one, and by default I have this brush set curve, so you can do this, but in this time we are not going to create curves, so it's going to be necessary to, let me use this, hide the stones. Let's go to stroke, curve, and turn off this curve mode. So we're gonna be able now to start putting the prongs, but you can see they are not deep enough on the surface. We need to put it more inside, like this, not that much, like this, maybe less. Okay, like this. Okay, you can find this graphic under the brush menu. Opening the depth, you will find this graphic here. So how big this prong needs to be? At least minimum it should be 0.6 millimeter. Let's see how it works with 0.7 millimeter. Maybe it looks big. Let's stay 0.75. Thing much better. Let me put it more inside, like this. Okay, let's a little bit deeper, because again I am saying that this is just for rendering, so I'm just creating a realistic render or closer to reality. If I need to send this for manufacturing, not for rendering, I will prefer to do them as long as possible, because during when the stone setting is putting the stones inside, they are put the stones, push the prongs against the stone just for fixing the stone on the surface, and then they start polishing and removing the unnecessary material on top. So for that, it needs to have a little amount of material for leave it well finish it. But just for rendering, it's not going to be necessary to make them so long. Maybe like this, and 0.65 millimeter. Split my points, and I like to put them because you can see as it is on top of this subtool that is subtracting all of the subtools which are above it. I prefer to keep this below, so it is not cut like this. So let's start putting. Maybe I can grab this. Let's just put it where you need to be. Maybe here, because I can put this. At least we need to have at least 3 prongs for each stone. So always try to put at least 3 or 4 or even more if necessary, but don't put less than 3 fixing points or prongs or stone. For example, this, it's going to be a bit dangerous because here I only have 2. In this case, it's much better to push this here. Here we have 1, 2, 3. Now this stone is fixed by 3 points. Just for fine tuning, what you can do is you can use the Move topological brush, but with a very big size, and you can start fixing things manually, because it is not completely necessary to put this prong in the 100% precise place. Here I have 3. Let's see if I push this to the right. And also it's good to have an amount of material here inside of the space for the stone, because the stone center can remove a little portion of that material, and then can push the stone inside, and the fitting is going to be more tightened, or at least that is my knowledge that I have from the stone setters. It is not what I'm saying. It is not my rules. They are not my rules. They are rules which are used on the industry, or well, depending on the person who is making the stone setting, because there are many different ways of working. There isn't any rule, only one rule for all of them. I have found that depends on the stone setter, we can find different ways of working. Maybe I can start creating this one a little bit smaller, like this. And of course, for the bigger stone, it's going to be necessary to have more than 2 or maybe more than 3 prongs. Yeah, something like this. I'm having a problem here. Let me make here this prong a little bit smaller. And what I can do now is using the auto groups. And now I'm having a single polygroup for each prong. Now I can use the gizmo, control and tab here, only masking this. Let's make this a little bit smaller, like this, and then it's going to work. And U needs to be a little bit better here. It's going to be better to put it here. And now let's put a secondary prong here. And okay, I think this looks good enough. Again, I need more space here. Let's fix this. To leave an empty space between the prong and the wall. Doing something like this, and I think it's going to be good if I use this brush SK/ with the alpha 39 with negative focal shift. Not that much, a little bit smaller. We can with more intensity. I can do this. Creating this. Just for having this, and then try a very cool way. For example, now here you can see I have this kind of profile here. I'm having this kind of shape, and I'm looking for something more like this. So more flat surface on top here. And the very effective and quick way to achieve this is using the H polish brush, and with the Alt key I'm going to be able to change the shape on the top like this. Here, no. There you go, here, and there you go. There. That's fine. Now without the Alt key. And for example, here we can see here's more thicker here than here. I can use the move brush with the back face mask for fixing, to try to make it more regular. And this is what I'm having. Now I can use the smooth bodies to try to smooth this a little bit. And now we're having this. Thanks, Baxter. I don't know, I'm not sure about the stone distribution. I think, my opinion, watching different already made jewels and looking for information from the masters, I think much better if you are combine different stone sizes. The pavés looks much better instead of using always the same stone size. Let me move topological brush. Let's say one, move the topology as 1 or 2. Yeah, move topological. Now I am having my brush size is almost 800. You can see it must be bigger enough to don't move the polygons on the surface. This is what I'm saying. If the brush is not big enough like this, you can see you can start making deformation on the prong because you are grabbing the vertices of the mesh. But if the brush is big enough, when you are, for example, you are trying to move this size with this kind of brush, you are also only able to move the whole thing. But I am saying just for fine tuning, just for little pushes, a little bit to the right, to the left, to the top, to the bottom. But if you want to move the prong from here to here, it's much better to use the gizmo, using the control tab, and now you can change the position. But this is just for little touches, adjustments. You can see one prong is too close to the next one. It's much better to try to, this one for example is too close to the border, so there's little touches. This technique, not movement or not translations from one point to the other point, like this, and that's it. Okay, now if I turn this on, this is what we are having here. Maybe I'm gonna change the material of the stones. It is too bright. Maybe I can use a simple. I like to use this one. What is it? The blend? No. Silver toy plastic. This one, RGB level. So let's material, fill object. Let's use maybe a little gray color. Yeah, more something like this. Like this looks much better. So let's save it. Step 4. Okay. So I'm gonna explain you the way that you can create your own hem cutter brush. You can start from a cylinder, make polymesh. You can squeeze it. Just grab the bottom, burn the mask, push it, change the topology. This is the whole open and whole close. It will depend on your criteria. So depend of this could be a good idea. For example, if let's append diamond we have, because this is a regular shape for a diamond standard hem cut. So now I can say that let's put the diamond more inside and put it here. This, I think like this it should work. Something like this, and that's it. The only recommendation that I can tell you is try to don't make it very long or very short, because try to make it as more quad with cubic proportions, because it's going to be better for getting a much more precise controls on the measurements. It's based from my experience. Try to don't, for example, this is the reason why I didn't add the drill here at the bottom, because this is taller than wider. So and we need to control this size. We need to control, this is going to be the most important size, because we don't care about this, because this will depend on it's not the same if we're going to set a stone on this amount of metal or this amount of metal. Well, this amount of metal, we're going to need a taller or a longer drill to make the hole. But in this case, I prefer to don't use it, because if I come back to here, you can use the same templates. Let me check the templates. The templates are here again. What I can do is, let's see if we are still, put the white color. We are still using the stones, but changing the mesh that we're gonna use for the nano mesh. Clicking the M. Let's use a cylinder now. You're gonna start putting cylinders instead of. Now go into the nano mesh settings. Start rotation, not in this way, in the Y, in the X, 90 degrees. They needs to be in the center, offset 0, and now we can make it from proportional or to fit. Let's make them bigger. Let's make them longer. No, length. And let's change the depth. The Z offset. No, it's not the Z, it's the Y. Like this. And now you can start creating the necessary drills. And you can see all of them fit the necessary size. So you can again use the this kind of templates workflow with the combined with the nanomesh for creating the drills, or the very commonly called the light. Let's change the size like this. And then here you can control how long you need them, just in case you need them. Let's see how it looks. That's the reason why my hem cutter doesn't have the cylinder at the bottom, because I have seen some tutorials with this shape for to start creating the cutters or the sheets, but I prefer to remove this and use the template for applying the stone, for applying the cutter. And also you can change when you are selecting the nanomesh. You can select a round circular hole, or you can use a quad, or you can select this kind of shape if you want, or instead of this shape you can select this shape, a cone shape. There are much more possibilities using this technique. And okay, let's coming back to the mesh. We already have the mesh already done here. Next step is to start creating the template. The way of do that, so you need to select the plane from the primitives. I'm going to turn this on, and before making it convert it into a polymesh 3D, you should go to the initialize and adjust the H divide and the B divide to 2 and 2, and now we have one single polygon. Now it's time to convert it to a polymesh, and now we can come back to here and we can append it to the list. Append, here it is, where it is, must be here somewhere, here. Okay, it needs to be rotated 90 degrees this way. Make it smaller, put it in the center, push it on top, should be here, for example, a little bit closer to the surface like this. And now merge visible, merge visible. You can see now the stone is not visible, and now here you have the necessary mesh. Now you should put it like straight facing to the front. We are watching the template, and now B or brush, create insert mesh, and we are going to create a new mesh, a new brush, and now you have your own hem cutter with the same techniques that I'm using. I think it's much better to do it yourself instead of sharing with you my brush. I think you're gonna learn more things, I think. And now you can use your own cutter with this kind of nanomesh template technique. I don't know how to call it, but you know what I mean. Yeah, template. But the template, the trick is before come here, what are you here, before clicking on make polymesh, go to initialize and create only one single polygon. So on them you can use that polygon as a template for being used in combination with nanomesh. Okay, let me check your question. Let me revise the chat. Esteria, how do I end up printing this in the end? I will use this printer. I'm going to show you which printer my printing supplier is using, a friend of mine. It is from 3D Systems. It is a project W. Is this printer. Here we have a video here.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Mi nombre es Alejandro Alfaro.
And where is the video? The machine working? I don't know where it is. And this is the kind of machine that I'm gonna use for 3D printing. It prints directly in wax, like this. The surface size for printing is like an A3 sheet, like this. And you can see it is a very big machine. And if you go to my website, go into galleries and cam and casting, and here, for example, these are examples. This was printed with that machine. This one, for example, same. No, it is not possible to make it bigger. It was printed with that machine. It has 16 microns resolution. For example, more examples. This one, this one, with the same. It has a very good surface quality. So, and one, for example, this one was printed with that printer too. You can see how smooth the surface looks like. Looks very nice. So it will be printed with this printer, and then it's going to be transformed from wax to metal using the lost wax casting process. And that's it. Yeah. And okay, we can follow the same process. Let's, instead of keep working on the head, because the head is going to be necessary too. For example, what I can do is to start creating the cutters for the eyes. I have this hem cuts brush. I have this marquise brush. If I select the head, I can select this shape. And we said that we are going to need 4mm long marquise stone. So let's put here 4mm. Put 4mm. This is a 4mm stone. This size. So, but here, in terms of manufacturing, I should talk first with the hemstone supplier, because you can see it is, for me, this cut is too narrow. Maybe I'm looking for a stone looks like more something like this, but this will depend on the stones available on the catalog, or for, but just for being talking about rendering purposes, let's fix this, and we can put it in place. I think the best way for set this stone maybe could be a bezel setting, or I don't know, maybe we can do this. And let's make a duplicate. So now I'm gonna make the necessary gap or space. Or just for, again, for rendering reasons. Let's make it small, parallel to the surface, like this. So I can split hidden, and now I can turn this on. It should be below the head, of course, and now this is what we're having. Just selecting the eyes. I think the eyes, maybe it's going to be necessary to make the rim, or this the profile as more closer to then if I start creating something like this, and I think, I don't know, maybe I need to talk with the stone setter again, because in some cases it adds two little prongs here. If I select the head, and it puts us inside, so it cuts the metal and it leaves two prongs which are fitting the stones to the surface at both sides. But before doing that, I think much better to talk with the professionals first, just for create or start gathering some information or some documentation from the internet. Just start checking the different ways for set this kind of stones, and then I can apply to the design, just to try to create as more realistic, as more professional as possible rendering. Okay, let's follow working on the head here, because the idea I had, I need to open, you can see here this, they're having a random distribution around the head, because I would like to combine, instead of doing this, because here I am using the traditional prongs setting, but I'm going to create something more like this. I have found, I'm going to try to show you this reference I have found on the internet, because the image quality is not very good, because you can see here the texture itself is working as a little prong. So I'm gonna use this kind of stone setting on the head instead of individual prongs for each stone. So if here we have the stone, the prongs are going to be more something like this, different sizes, just to try to mimic a kind of octopus skin, or kind of animal skin, or not completely flat surface with this kind of little kind of, yeah, I think this kind of texture, it could work as an octopus texture. But this is the idea that I have just for the head, just for creating two kinds of pavés on the head. Just trying to combine the traditional way of stone setting and more artistical way of stone setting. This is not invented by myself, but I try to discover or to add these kind of things to my design. I think at the end it adds value to the design, not just repeating the same thing over and over again. So because the piece looks boring and doesn't look interesting. So for that, the first thing is, I'm gonna try to start creating my layout for the new layout for the different stone sizes. Let's come back to the original. What time is it? Okay, we are still having 30 minutes. And let's start working with 1.5 millimeter. No, but with brown stone. Let's go. No, I forgot. And instead of this, I'm gonna use the hem cutter 1.5. Okay, looks good. Split mask points. Let's go for this side instead of the other. Okay, I'm gonna grab this one with the mask lasso. I don't want to use the dynamis, so I'm gonna turn off the dynamis. this. Let me select this because I'm gonna put it here. Now it's not going to be necessary to place them so close one to the other. What I did. They. Okay, there. And let's see if I can start working. Another one here. Another one here. And let's change the size now. Maybe I'm going to change a little bit this. More or less, more something like this. Let's change the size. Now 1.5. Let's go to 2. Let's see how it looks like with the bigger stones. You need to be here. Okay, here looks good. If I put, for example, 1 here and let's come back to 1.5. No, I think it needs to be here better. And now 1 and 2 again. 1 more here. Now I can use 1 more here. 1 more here. Try to make it more or less symmetrical, both sides. Now I can use, for example, let's start using 1 millimeter. For example, here, 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 and here. No, maybe here. 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter. Now let's come back to 1.5 again. Put 1 here, another 1 here, 1 more here, yeah, something like this. I can put 1 more here. No, instead of here, I'm gonna put it here. And now we can use the 1 millimeter again. Making something like this. Maybe there is not going to be necessary to place more stones here in this side. So one last here and 1 more here, no, 1 more here, here, and let's see, 1 last 1.5. Thing looks good. The most important thing when we are creating a brooch or a pendant is going to be the front view. So we can save the spaces. For example, I'm going to add the stones here in this panel, and I'm going to add more stones here on this panel, but I'm not going to add the stones here. We can leave this space without the stones as well. So we can do this. Okay, let's repeat. We have all of them together in one place. So what happens here? Okay, so we can split to similar parts. Remember this option. So now we have the templates. Now we have the cutters here. The templates ready for being used. with the stones, with hamstones. Let's save this. And 4. Okay. I'm not in the center of camera. Hey, Jair, 89. Glad you are here. Welcome. And thank you everybody for being here. Okay, more things. So now, as I said before, let's start creating the texture on the surface. I'm gonna use this, but instead I'm gonna use this sphere. On the head. There's those little balls. This. Okay, it looks nice. Split mass points needs to be below the negative ones, like this. I'm going to be, we can put, for example, the master ones, for example, like this, where we are sure that we are going to have a safe stone setting. Well, once we have the necessary, for example, like this, in this case, needs to be here better. And maybe I'm gonna place them deeper. So let's continue putting, don't forget to add at least 3 prongs for each stone. And now we can start adding this kind of texture. Okay, saving time. Okay, so we can follow putting things like this, like this, like this, this. So, and then it's going to be necessary to cover more surfaces. I'm going to use now a surface noise to see how it looks like in combination with the prongs. Okay, like this. Because this, the little spheres I am placing are going to be the main way for holding the stones safe in place, but now I'm gonna add the secondary texture, which is going to be the main skin texture, or this is what I have in mind. Let's see how it works. Maybe it doesn't work. Let's see. I'm gonna make this quick just for show you what I'm saying. And like this, following, adding more and more. With this, I think they are going to be enough. Let's add some random dots here. Maybe we can add a little row here. Like this. Different sizes, variations. continue on this side. Till here. And let's see how it looks with, let's say this. For printing, it's so nice to see. For printing, one makes details higher than for rendering. Yes. Yes, for the detail. I'm sorry. For printing, the detail needs to be more exaggerated than for the rendering. You're right. How do you do this on a new model project? Because I used to remake it again. So I create two models, one for rendering, another one for production, for manufacturing, and that's it. And the prongs are only for the better looks. No, the prongs has the main purpose for the prongs is holding the stones, is keeping the stones in place, because when we are setting the stones this way, we are not gluing the stones on the surface. So the metal itself is holding the stone in place. So that's the main reason for the prongs. The prongs are, let's say it in English, is holding or hugging. When you are hugging someone, you know what I mean. So you are hugging the stone, so the stones stays in place. So you can, for example, if you move the piece or you scratch the page, you're not going to lose any stone. So it needs to be safer. When, for example, when the stone setting, we are having here something. This is the stone, this is the surface, and here we have a prong, and here we have another prong. And the stone setter push the stone against, push the prong against the stone, so is bend the stone like this way, one by one, pushing all the grains or all the prongs till the stone setter is sure that all the stones are safe in place and very tightened. So it can be moved, the stones inside, and you are not going to be able to lose any stone. So that's the main reason why of the prongs. And also for you try a system that is necessary not only for technical purposes. You can use it as for designing purposes. You use the prongs also for create a texture. This is what I'm doing here on this part of the head. Or you try to create a beautiful random distribution. It is not only a matter of just for technical purposes. And now I'm gonna use this, and I'm going to use this texture. I'm gonna store the morph target first. Let's see how it works. Let's go to surface, noise. Come here, okay. Noise plug, border noise, okay. Start playing strength. I don't want to use the basic noise. Let's put this to 0. You can see we start watching the noise here, and give it a negative like this. And let's see how big it needs to be. Let's see like this, how it looks like. And let's apply to mesh. This is what we have. Maybe smaller. Let's come back. Oh, I went here. Edit, scale, let's say 0.1. Don't forget that I store the morph target first, right? Let's give it more strength. -3, -0.3. No, not that much. -0.3 negative. Okay, like this. Apply to mesh. And now going to morph target, switch the morph target, and now using the morph brush, I can start adding the texture only in the necessary places. I'm gonna use focal shift. I'm gonna reduce the focal shift. Something like this. What do you think? Do you like it? I think this will change the light reflection on this surface. It could be a combination of flat surfaces where we are going to cast more light, we're gonna reflect more light, and this texture where we are not going to reflect the same amount of light. So, but we are gonna have a stone, so we are gonna have some bright points. So what do you think? Do you like it better flat or better with texture? I'm gonna create two versions because probably as you, I'm not 100% sure. I need to think about it. You're gonna steal my workflow, of course. You can. You can do it, no problem. Yeah, but you mostly hear that prongs are not long enough for stone setter yet, so they want them to over exaggerate it, so they can grind them down themselves. Yes. No, yeah. That's the. For example, I was talking about this at the beginning of the streaming, or almost at the beginning of the streaming. When we are creating things for production or for manufacturing, here we have the surface, here we have the stone, and for manufacturing it's going to be necessary to create this strong, the prongs this tall, for example, a little bit, as you said, over exaggerated, because it is for manufacturing and this is for rendering. This is what I am doing, this just for rendering, not for manufacturing yet. It's for manufacturing, and I still need to think about more things, about the necessary space inside to make it hollow, still many things to do. But at this point I'm only going to create the rendering model. So I'm sorry, this needs to be, for rendering, needs to be as the final prongs, more or less this tall. So as you said here on your comment, the stone setter wants this side because it's much better to bend it over the stones, still here, like this, and then grind or remove this part. The same thing here. Remove this part till having the end stone prong size. most of the client who are requesting to me to or giving this finishing to the piece, I'm talking about the prongs already made on the 3D model. They are looking for longer prongs for this reason, because after the stone setter, for the stone setter, it's going to be easier to set the stones inside, because they have more material. So the prongs are taller. They are going to be possible to bend them easier, to remove the unwanted part, and also to give shape to the prong. Most of the clients are requesting to me to give this finishing to the prong, because after when they cut the unnecessary amount of metal, they shape the prongs with the right tool to give in this kind of shape instead of uh, horizontal cut. But you need to give them this instead of this. But you are right. But this is again, this is just for rendering. And I'm gonna create the same thing here. I'm gonna create a duplicate just for duplicate. And let's come back from history. I don't want to use, this is going to be the flat one. I'm gonna keep working on this one. And I'm gonna use now the same process as before, clay build up. I'm gonna create this brim here, as we said, for this for rendering, and there's the reason why I'm creating this. Okay, the same process as before. Let's add more material here with H polish. Do you call this? This is a brim, contour, profile. I don't know. Which is the right word? So will be in terms of usually it's going to be more realistic. Let me start improving this side here, for example, because I want to create a cool render with this piece. This is the reason why I'm trying to create more or less realistic render, realistic piece in terms of they should looks like made by hand or with traditional ways of working. So it's good to don't have very perfect things. It's like things are made by hand, so I'm not looking for perfect straight lines. Just because I want to show like one thing made by hand manually. So okay, things like this. Let's make this thing, this part higher. This part higher, this part higher. Well, we are using okay, one like this. Let's save this. 4. Jair says, do I have any courses online that one could take by where you go into detail about modeling for production? No, I don't. I finished it yesterday. A course at Vertex, like school. I will show you. I will share with you the link now. Okay, let me fix this first. I don't know if it will be released again, because as I said, I finished it yesterday. It was 6 weeks long, and if you go to or even better, if you go to my link tree, you go to my link tree. I'm gonna share with you my link tree here on the chat. I'm just clicking here, the first link. I had this course active. It is not active now because it was over, and it is composed by, you can join the wait list just in case it will be released maybe after summer, in autumn, next autumn, maybe October maybe. So when you will have 3 different exercises, and you will have a pack of different videos explaining how I did this kind of biking band ring, how I did this very famous outing pendant design, and how I made this flower brooch. As I said before, the duration of the course is 6 weeks, where we are going to have each week a live session of 2 hours where you're going to be able to ask questions, comments, or whatever about the exercises or about the necessary workflows that you need. We're going to have 3 weeks about it, and we are going to have 3 extra more weeks where you are going to be able to talk about more different topics. And also you are going to have access to a Discord forum where you are going to be 100% in contact with me and with the other students, and you are going to be able to ask questions, send comments, propose themes for the next streaming and things like that. So I think I'm going to try to release this course again next autumn, after summer. So remember that you can find it here. Click on the first link, and here I'm talking about my link tree. You will have access to my website, to my ArtStation, to my YouTube channel. Also in my YouTube channel, you have videos what I did talking about the sculpting reliefs, creating a skull ring, how do I render my rings with Keyshot, and here we have the compilation of my different ZBrush streamings. Here you will be able to find all of them. You have the whole collection here of all of them. This is going to be, I don't know, maybe the 20, I don't know. And more videos about my work. So, and you will have my Instagram, my Facebook page related to jewelry designs, my Facebook page related to general art, my Twitter, Behance, LinkedIn, different articles, my DeviantArt, my Pinterest boards, my Patreon. So everything together in one place. Let's close this. How much do I think the course will be? I think it is. It's around $500. But when they are promoting the course, during the maybe the first or the first and second week, they are given a big discount. Let me check it. How much it is? It is around $500. $500. Three different exercises, a lot of videos, one stream each week, a community forum about the course. I think it works, at least for me. Okay, what time is it? Okay, I think we are done. So as I said before, this is going to be the last streaming about this design. I'm gonna keep working on it on my free time. I will post the finished piece on my social media and with the final render, with the final renders. And what happens here? Oh, here I am watching the pins behind to hide this. And I still need to add the stones here, add the stones here, add the stones here, all the way till from here till here, maybe, to simulate the suckers of each of the tentacles. I think I'm going to leave the surfaces flat because I want to cast nice reflections and bright here on the top of each tentacle. I'm gonna add the system on the back, the needle for the brooch, the assembling system. So it's still a lot to do, but the purpose at the end is I'm gonna try to create a good render with all the stone brighting, all the metal brighting, and let's see. And I said before, I'm gonna try to add different color schemes or combinations of colors on the head, not only always the same color for the stones and different colors, just for simulating or for mimic the skin of the octopus. And let's see how it looks like. Okay, so we are done for today. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. I will be here streaming again. Let me check. You know that if you go to the ZBrush page, go into community, ZBrush Live, you go to the calendar, you will have all the schedule here, and my next streaming will be next Thursday, April 27th, right? Next week, same time. But the good thing about this calendar is that you are clicking my or any of the presenters, you are clicking here, you will have your local time here. Here I'm watching my local time. Spain time at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But here you will see your local country time. So mark your calendar. So, and I don't know what I'm going to do next month, and maybe I will book 2 or 3 more streams. Let's see, and stay tuned for future streamings. And as I said before, really appreciate that you be here watching what I'm doing, and I hope it has been interesting for you. Yeah, there's a calendar, of course. I remember it again. Go into the plot, ZBrush. Are you gonna post any work about related to Star Wars? You know, remember that you have time till May of the 4th. I will post my work here. I'm preparing it. So you need to go to community, ZBrush Live. Come here, probably. And calendar. you will find the whole calendar here, or clicking on the calendar, you will be clicking on on each day. You will see different streamings. The next is going to be 1.5 hours after me. Will be Derek Pellegrini, and my next streaming will be the next Thursday. You have all things here organized and ready for being watched. Okay, so thank you very much. I will see you, we'll see you here next Thursday with a brand new design, completely different thing. So take care, have a nice rest of the day, nice weekend, and see you here next Thursday. Bye everyone.